Soon after meeting and falling in love, Andrew and Olivia Densley agreed they both adored kids and wanted a large family. They got married and got on with their dream. But after having their fourth child, they received terrible news. Their third child, a son, had a genetic immune deficiency disease which looked likely to kill him. Just when all seemed lost, though, he was saved by a long-shot miracle. His little brother was a match as a bone marrow donor. Now, because their son had suffered a potentially fatal genetic disease, you'd think Andrew and Olivia would have stopped having more children. Well, they didn't. They rolled the dice and tragically lost again. So now they've engineered another extraordinary solution. Meet little Liliana, pretty as a picture. Just hours old, she's the sixth child for Andrew and Olivia Densley.
She's perfect, isn't she?
Liliana's loved dearly by her parents, but she was created, engineered in a lab for one reason and one reason only: to save her brother's life. At just 4 years of age, Fletcher Densley has a fatal blood disorder. A bone marrow transplant is his only hope, and one day soon, Liliana will be his donor.
Would you have had a sixth child if it wasn't for this need?
No.
No, probably not.
No. All I can do is reassure the child that we love it, we always will, and whatever the outcome, there will be no regret in having this baby.
Ready? Yeah, okay.
The Densleys might just be the most complicated family in Australia. Remarkably, their decision to genetically manufacture their sixth child, Liliana, is not the hardest one they've had to make.
Whose turn? Ready, go!
A bigger dilemma is whether they ever should have had their fifth child, Fletcher. Back then, they knew they may have been playing Russian roulette with his life in their quest for a bigger family.
You certainly think about, why didn't we just stop at four kids? Olivia's a bit more sensitive to what other people think and say. I don't really care what you think and what you say. I'll just live my life and you live yours.
So it's to the haters you say, mind your own business?
Pretty much, yeah. We've made the choices we've made.
The Smiles in the Densley family hide a silent and rare killer that runs deep within their bloodline, a genetic disorder known as Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome.
Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome is a death sentence.
It is. That's probably the hardest thing to really get your head around at the start, is that your child's been diagnosed with something that is potentially fatal. And when you're a parent and the mortality of your child comes into question, it's huge.
Olivia and Andrew's first two children, Ayla and Tate, were fine, but in 2010, their third child, Cooper, was born with Wiskott. He suffered its horrific effects for years. The family was told if a bone marrow donor wasn't found quickly, his days were numbered. But as luck would have it, their fourth child, Jackson, was an exact genetic match and could provide that life-saving transplant.
A 2-year-old that has no say in this, putting him through, a painful procedure, getting bone marrow pulled out of his hip. Did you feel bad?
Yeah, we felt bad, yeah.
Right from the start, we both decided that we trust modern medicine and that we had full faith in Cooper's doctors. They said the bone marrow takes 3 weeks to regrow, and once that's happened, that's it. Sure, Jackson has to go through something, but it's not long-term, and it is only once, and it's going to save his brother's life.
It's been a slow process managing Cooper's health, but since the transplant in 2014, he's effectively been cured of Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. But here's where the story takes an extraordinary turn. Given the traumatic ordeal and question marks over genetic issues in their bloodline, it would be unfathomable for most parents to consider taking the chance to have another child. Nevertheless, Olivia and Andrew began talking about baby number 5.
If you have a boy as a carrier of Wiskott-Aldrich, you're a 50% chance of passing the syndrome on to them.
Yes, as a carrier, and I have a boy baby, 50% chance that they will get it.
So at this point in time, you've been to hell and back. This whole procedure, sorting out the syndrome for your boy. You've got a family of 4 kids. That's a handful. Did you think, all right, we'll draw the line in the sand there?
I definitely did.
I still had the desire that I wanted to have more kids, but we hadn't.
Was this even after you'd
Yes.
seen what Cooper had been through?
Yes, yeah, and I just felt like surely we wouldn't be that unlucky to get it again. I just had hope.
One in 2, though. I mean, that's not a matter of luck. It's a pretty fair chance.
Yeah, I know, but you sort of think, how much is one family going to get dished out? So we've already been dealt a really rough blow, and I just had hope that it wouldn't happen again.
In the end, Andrew and Olivia say the decision was taken out of their hands, falling pregnant with an unplanned 5th child.
Once we found out that I was pregnant, there was a little bit of, for just a second, what if it's a boy and what if it has Wiskott? We just kind of weighed it up. It was offered to us termination, but that's not an option for me.
You're purely opposed to that?
I'm not purely opposed to it. For me, once you've had a child, you know what you get at the end, and it's so wonderful. And the thought of having to terminate something that you know what's going to come out is a wonderful little baby is a bit unbearable for me.
The whole process you'd already been through, though, with Cooper, you couldn't describe that as wonderful, could you?
No, definitely not. That's not wonderful, but
that's what you knew was potentially coming.
I guess. I think we just turned a blind eye and hoped for the best.
What did your friends say when you told them, after everything that had already happened, you're having child number 5?
There were a few people who were like, why are you doing this? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to the baby? And why would you do it to your family? Which at first was hard to hear because they were people who knew us, and we thought, why would you say that to us?
It's our life and we'll deal with it.
I guess they'd say, though, it's not just your life, though. It's little baby number 5's life.
Yeah, but we were always knew that he was coming into a loving home, and he was we were going to do everything we could to help him.
Did you see where they were coming from?
I do now.
You didn't then?
No, because we're just really optimistic, positive people who thought, surely this won't happen again.
Well, it did. On the 19th of May 2014, little Fletcher Densley came into the world. Tragically, 3 weeks later, he was diagnosed with Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. They'd rolled the dice and lost.
I guess it was heartbreaking. It was, I felt for Fletcher, like he's going to go through we know what he's going to go through. And I guess I did have a little bit of guilt of, we did this to him. It was a bit of a reality of, what did we do?
Yeah.
But, at the same time, he's a beautiful little baby. So that kind of gets us through because we love children.
This time the odds were well and truly against them. No match was found between Fletcher and his siblings, so he was put on an international register to find a random bone marrow donor. As his condition continued to worsen, still no match could be found.
And it was effectively a race against time, wasn't it? Because time's not on your side with Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome.
It was taken out of our hands at that point, and it felt really, well, what more can I do? It was a waiting game, and it was really hard just sitting back, knowing of this impending sickness that is coming to our child, and that was really hard to take.
Still to come, the torment of waiting.
Maybe we won't have him forever.
And as time runs out, this would have been excruciating.
The consequences of failure for them was the loss of their child.
The race to engineer a solution
We did it. We finally did it.
is still no guarantee.
Is it 100% that the baby will save Fletcher?
That's next on 60 Minutes. Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.